icyerekezo 2050. Radio Imanzi 105.1 FM.
We got you updated. This is Radio Imanzi News in English.
You are tuned to Radio Imanzi, broadcasting from Kigali. Here is the news in English, brought to you by Fiona Umuganwa. The headlines. President Paul Kagame attended the official launch of Road and Schwartz, an international electronics group marking its footprint on the African continent. Activists and school officials have called for an effective approach to school feeding. Items from Michael B. Jordan's memorabilia have been put up for auction. Welcome back. News in detail. President Paul Kagame says over the years, Rwanda has significantly made progress in developing digital economy. He made the remarks as he presided over the official launch of Road and Schwartz, an international electronics group marking its footprint on the African continent. The group specializes in the field of electronic test equipment, broadcast and media, cybersecurity, radio monitoring and radiolocation, and radio communication, among others. The president noted that Rwanda's strategy focuses on creating an enabling environment for business while investing in broadband infrastructure and digital skills.
Over the years, Rwanda has made significant progress in developing our digital economy. There is a lot more to do, a lot. Our strategy focuses on creating an enabling environment for business while investing in broadband infrastructure and digital skills. The Kigali International Financial Center, Kigali Innovation City, and the Center for the Fourth Industrial Revolution are just three examples of many things we are trying to do or can do in the near future. Our vision is to become a trusted hub for digital financial services and technology innovation in our region and beyond. Road and Schwartz is already a positive addition to Rwanda's technology community through the software development lab started in 2019. Key public institutions in Rwanda are already making use of these applications. The launch of Road and Schwartz Rwanda office, the first in our continent, will only enhance the good collaboration we have seen. I commend the company's new commitments in cybersecurity training and curriculum development, as well as the support for a radio frequency lab in conjunction with the QT Software, a Rwandan software company. What has determined our progress as a country is the focus we have put on our people, especially the young people. I therefore encourage you to continue collaborating with our higher education institutions going forward.
Initially, the Kigali-based office was to be launched in March 2022, but due to COVID-19 pandemic, it was postponed to 2022. Founded over 85 years ago, it has more than 13,000 employees across 87 countries. The launch happened on the sidelines of the ongoing 8th edition of the World Telecommunication Development Conference taking place in Kigali. The Senate General Assembly conducted a conference with key economic bodies in which they had a consultative meeting on providing equal access to financial services and how they can be used to improve people's lives. The Senate observed that the exchange of opinions should strengthen Rwanda's growth, keeping in mind that the goal is for all Rwandans who reach maturity to have access to financial services by 2024, 100%, up from 93% currently. Various stakeholders attended the meeting, including the Minister of Finance and Economic Planning, the Minister of ICT and Innovation, senators, ministers, and the Central Bank Governor, the Private Sector Federation, among others. According to the Central Bank Governor, John Gwangomga, because of the reforms implemented in banks and financial institutions, the situation in financial institutions is stable. The Minister of ICT and Innovation, Ingabire Musoni Paula, said various forms of money transfers have been conducted through financial institutions that enable some of the activities that have aided people who utilize these services. The deliberations resulted in the adoption of a resolution calling for the implementation of a comprehensive and cost-effective approach to providing financial services to Rwandans, monitoring their effective use, benefiting them and thus improving their lives. Financial service users have climbed from 89% in 2017 to 93% in 2020, with the rate predicted to reach 100% in 2024. Activists and school officials have called for an effective approach to school feeding program. They say that the government's contribution to the school feeding program is small compared to the current high food prices and hence should be increased in order to respond to the rising cost of living. Also, parents from poor families do not have means to pay the required contribution to the feeding of their children at school. Therefore, some members of the public are calling for a school feeding funding model that will provide enough support for the poor. During the budget hearing, while the Ministry of Gender and Family Promotion was presenting its proposed budget for the 2022-2023 to the Committee on National Budget and Patrimony, Elodie Octavia Akoyiremeye, President of Children's Forum at national level, told lawmakers that they request that a contribution by the government be increased. According to the Rwanda School Feeding Operational Guidelines Summary by the Ministry of Education, the value of a nutritious meal for this program is 150 Rwandan francs, based on menu modeling conducted by Mineduc and the World Food Programme in 2020 and the National School Feeding Policy. Venuste Muhamyaghaka, Executive Director of Scaling Up Nutrition Alliance, an umbrella of civil society organizations engaged in improving nutrition in Rwanda, said that a basic nutritious meal cannot be possible with 150 Rwandan francs given the current food prices, which are high. Muhamyaghaka said that the government's daily 56 Rwandan francs contribution per student to school feeding is too little compared to the cost of even a basic balanced meal. According to him, a student needs a basic meal consisting of maize meal, kawunga, of rice, potatoes, cassava as body energy sources, beans or peas for proteins, and vegetables and fruits for protection from diseases, so that they get the minimum required nutrients. Such a meal, he estimated, can cost about 500 Rwandan francs. For effective school feeding program implementation, he suggested the government support school feeding be 300 Rwandan francs per day. Akoyiremeye said that the school feeding fee to be paid by students should be based on people's means determined by their socio-economic categories so as to support their most vulnerable. MP Omar Munyaneza, chairperson of the Committee on National Budget and Patrimony, said that the Ministry of Education and the Ministry of Finance and Economic Planning told lawmakers that they were reviewing the government's contribution to the school feeding program to respond to the current market realities. Meanwhile, in the next fiscal year, which will start on July 1st, 2022, the school feeding program will get a larger share of the education budget as it was allocated 42.3 billion Rwandan francs out of the proposed education sector budget of 476.5 billion Rwandan francs for 2022-2023. The city of Kigali has announced plans to work with private investors in constructing 9 new mini markets for street vendors and finance some of them to raise their capital and make their businesses viable. Pidas Rwingisa, the city mayor, said that at least 3,832 street vendors could be supported to leverage the new markets and get finance to run their small businesses. These include 1,800 street vendors from Gasau district, 952 from Kicukiro district, and 1,080 from Nyarugenge district to be deployed to the expected markets. The mayor said some of the new mini markets for street vendors will be constructed by investors on their own land, while others will construct the markets on the land provided by the city. He said that other street vendors will get free spaces in unoccupied market buildings with financial support in terms of tax exemption for 3 months, as well as other support that includes increased capital, training and coaching on doing business. He said since 2015, over 6,500 street vendors were supported to be grouped in mini markets and are working on how to help some recover from COVID-19 effects. The intervention follows the move by former street vendors appealing for financial support to be able to recover from COVID-19 impact on their sales. The issue of business women in informal sector, particularly street vendors, was also discussed during the last week's global platform of entrepreneurial women held in Kigali. This is a group of women from the solidarity economy, administration, institutions and the private sector to pool their efforts and synergies to advance the cause of women. The 6th International Meeting of Leaders and Entrepreneurs hosted in Rwanda was held under the theme Innovating in Women's Leadership to Accelerate Post-COVID Recovery, considering that women are key stakeholders in the transformation of their countries through investment in better environment and empowerment. The mayor said that the city has had dialogues with the central bank and the Ministry of Financing and Economic Planning to consider women in the informal sector as part of recovery from COVID-19 effects.
Some items of international news on Radio Imanzi.
Members of the East African Legislative Assembly have decried the numerous challenges traders face at the Rusumo border crossing between Rwanda and Tanzania. Lawmakers stress that regional countries should swiftly tackle issues at the border and at other East African community borders with urgency so as to better facilitate trade and movement of people. Last year in October, during an oversight activity, members of the Assembly Standing Committee on Communication, Trade and Investment had observed that some of the challenges traders face at the borders include unharmonized tax rates, limited access to essential utilities, as well as lack of laboratory and testing equipment from the Tanzania Bureau of Standards, Tanzania Food and Drug Authority, and even a medical laboratory to facilitate respective inspection tasks, among others. Rwanda's MP Oda Gasinzizwa noted that there is need to pay particular attention to the issue of lack of testing equipment, since most products being moved along the border are foodstuffs. She said it becomes dangerous for consumers if there is no testing equipment. She urged the Council of Ministers to follow up closely because this is a food security issue. The committee chairperson, MP Christopher Nduwayo from Burundi, presented their findings this Tuesday, noting that in spite of all, the border crossing, which plays an important role for cross-border trade between Rwanda and Tanzania and for transit goods from Tanzania to the DRC, is one of the best designed one-stop border posts in the region. The Rusumo border links Rwanda and the eastern DRC, among others, to the port of Dar es Salaam through what is commonly known as the Central Corridor. MP Nduwayo said there are different tax rates and other charges which are not yet harmonized within the East African Community Framework, and this produces confusion for traders at the time of clearing their goods as they exit or enter the border posts, and this occurs on both sides of Rwanda and Tanzania. There is also lack of harmony in measures affecting free movement of people, where some partner state allows the use of national IDs while the other still requires the use of other costly travel documents, as well as the non-participation of the Republic of Tanzania to the East African Community tourist visa system. Tanzania and Burundi do not recognize the use of national IDs as travel documents, while Rwanda, Kenya and Uganda do. President Yoweri Museveni has said that Uganda has reached the major income status despite an onslaught of crises in the past 3 years. According to official data, the nation's economy stood at about $45.7 billion by the exchange rate method, or $131 billion by the purchasing power parity system. This means that the GDP per capita is $1,046. They have now passed that figure of middle income status of $1,030. The president observed as he delivered the annual State of the Nation address in Kampala. Speaking in person to mainly ruling NRM party legislators, President Museveni expressed confidence that Uganda would maintain its spot above the middle income status GDP per capita minimum of about $1,030. The country needs to sustain this for 2 to 3 consecutive years to be declared a middle income country. The The Vatican has always defended Pope Pius XII against allegations that he remained silent as the Holocaust unfolded, insisting that he worked quietly behind the scenes to save lives. A new book suggests the lives the Vatican worked hardest to save were Jews who had converted to Catholicism or were children of Catholic Jewish mixed marriages. Pius has been called Hitler's Pope, deeply sympathetic to the Nazis, eager for a Nazi-fascist victory, obsessed with the defeat of the Soviets at all costs, and dedicated anti-Semite. The other historiographic position held was that Pius XII did everything within his power to help those suffering under Nazi and fascist oppression, and that he was merely constrained by circumstances. The Pope at War is one of several books starting to roll out 2 years after Pope Francis opened the Pius XII archives ahead of schedule. That gave scholars access to the full set of documentation to resolve the outstanding questions about Pius and what he did or did not do as the Holocaust unfolded. Elon Musk has threatened to walk away from his $44 billion bid to buy Twitter, the latest sign that his plan to overhaul the social media platform may be starting to fall apart. His lawyers made the threat in a letter to Twitter accusing the company of refusing to give him information about spam bot accounts. Such bots have become a major public preoccupation for the volatile billionaire, despite the fact that he declined an opportunity to examine Twitter's internal data a few months ago. Musk signed an agreement with Twitter last April to buy the company for $44 billion and take it private. But the deal hasn't closed yet, and as the weeks have passed, Musk has increasingly shown discomfort with the deal, suggesting that he wants to negotiate a cheaper price or even to walk away entirely. There are several reasons that Musk's Twitter deal might have lost its luster since he signed it in April. Twitter is standing firm on Musk's agreed price of $54.2 per share, but since early May, the stock has fallen more than 25% below that figure. The gap between the deal price and the actual share price suggests that many investors don't think the deal will go through. Much of Musk's initial $46 billion plan to finance the deal used stock in Tesla, his electric vehicle company, as collateral for loans he would use to purchase Twitter shares in deal. He's since adjusted the plan so that more investors may be involved, including those with Twitter shares, but it's not clear exactly who those investors might be. Tesla's stock price has also fallen dramatically since April 4th, the day Musk disclosed that he was Twitter's largest shareholder. Its 35% decline has cut deeply into Musk's wealth, even though he remains the world's richest person. Tesla's falling share price also reduces the amount Musk can borrow against his Tesla holdings. Company rules limit Musk to borrowing no more than 25% of the value of his Tesla stake, which means Musk can now raise roughly $13.5 billion against his shares. Musk now owns about 163 million Tesla shares valued at $114.7 billion according to FactSet. Experts say Musk cannot unilaterally place the deal on hold, although that hasn't stopped him from acting as though he can. If he walks away, he could on the hook for $1 billion breakup fee. Twitter could also sue to force him to complete the acquisition on the agreed terms. Items from Michael B. Jordan's memorabilia have been put up for auction at Christie's Rockefeller Center Galleries, an auction house in New York. The auction house is presenting items that tie to pivotal moments of the NBA player's career. Jordan's memorabilia are in an online-only sale running through June 14th. The house put a rookie card with an estimate of $2 to $3 million on which they hope will really break records and bring new light to the card collecting community. The top sneaker line of the auction is a pair of sneakers he actually wore in his second last game he ever played as a Chicago Bull and seen in the Last Dance documentary. The sale in 6 lots really marks his entire career. The collection presents highlights of Jordan's 15-season career. The player who retired age 40 is widely recognized the best basketball player of the 1990s, prompting fans to coin him the GOAT, meaning the greatest player of all time. His final retirement did not mean he stopped influencing the pop culture. Experts believe he contributed to giving sneakers a status symbol.
Economic news is a regular feature on Radio Imanzi.
Now the Rwanda Stock Exchange Market Report. The trading session recorded a total turnover of 6,065,400 Rwandan francs from 24,400 shares traded in 4 deals on the equities market, while the fixed income market remained quiet. M10 Rwanda closed the counter at 178 Rwandan francs. The trading session recorded a total turnover of 195,800 Rwandan francs from 1,100 shares traded in 1 deal. Bank of Kigali closed the counter at 261 Rwandan francs. The trading session recorded a total turnover of 5,637,600 Rwandan francs from 21,600 shares traded in 1 deal. Brega closed the counter at 160 Rwandan francs. The trading session recorded a total turnover of 112,000 Rwandan francs from 700 shares traded in 1 deal. Simerwa closed the counter at 120 Rwandan francs. The trading session recorded a total turnover of 120,000 Rwandan francs from 1,000 shares traded in 1 deal. I&M Bank closed the counter at 43 Rwandan francs, M10 Rwanda at 178, Equity Bank at 440, Kenya Commercial Bank at 370, National Media Group at 1,200, Uchumi Supermarket at 104, and RH Buffalo closed the counter at 526 Rwandan francs as the market closed. The currency market review of today. The Kenyan shilling buying price was 8.6 Rwandan francs and the selling price was 8.8. Tanzanian shilling buying price was 0.43 and the selling price was 0.44. Ugandan shilling buying price was 0.26 and the selling price was 0.276. Burundian franc buying price was 0.49 and the selling price was 0.5. The US dollar buying price was 1,012 Rwandan francs and the selling price was 1,032 Rwandan francs. The British pound buying price was 1,265 Rwandan francs and the selling price was 1,290. The euro buying price was 1,081 Rwandan francs and the selling price was 1,103 Rwandan francs. With that, we come to the end of tonight's edition.